I'm Kevin Stevens, a native Pensacolian, husband, father, and U.S. Navy veteran.
But that's not what this is about.
I'm a local businessman who has owned many successful companies over the years.
But it's not about this either.
Recently, I ran for public office and was elected to a seat on the ECUA Board of Commissioners.
So what's this about? It's about an elected official who will serve his community and hold his fellow elected officials accountable.
All while making local government more transparent. Join me in making Pensacola a better place to live, work, and play.
Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So today just have a tremendous amount to talk about. Goodness gracious, it's been a while since I was able to film my last show. Since that time, we've had several meetings with the CAC, Citizens Advisory Committee, as well as our board, ECUA board. It's that time of year again on discussing our budget, and along with the budget comes the possibility of rate increases. And so again, just as a quick plug, I encourage any concerned citizen or ratepayer to attend those meetings we're having the third and fourth Tuesday of each month. And give us your input on that. So, let me just jump right into it. So, right now we recently just instituted a kind of an equity water and sanitation rate study, and basically what that is a lot of folks don't understand that everywhere in Escambia County in the 5 districts. Every homeowner does not utilize ECUA, all the ECUA services, whether it be some use water, some use sanitation, garbage, sewer, etc. Some of them use all those services. Some of them just use some of them. I'll use my perfect example. I use the garbage service with ECUA at my home in Molino, but we have Molino Utilities that services the water. So there's several spots like that throughout Escambia County and throughout ECUA's coverage area. So what we're trying to do right now, as we start talking about our budget and where we could save money and as well as equity with our current ratepayers, is what subsidies are we utilizing? So what individuals may be subsidizing folks out on Perdido, what folks may be subsidizing individuals on the west side of town or the north end of the county who don't use water, but use the sanitation. So currently our rates, my rates are a blended rate. So we're trying to dive into that a little bit more. We're trying to kind of trying to figure out making sure that everybody is paying for the services that they're actually using, and if there are subsidies for individuals who are not necessarily utilizing our water services, what are those? Are residential customers paying as much as commercial, and then are commercial customers being treated fairly who live in these areas who may or may not use all of our services? So you'll start to hear a little bit more about that going forward. That was a hot button of myself and staff and the other board members, was just to kind of dive into that a little bit, because simply because we've been doing this for so long doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So I did want to let you know that you will start seeing some surveys, some questionnaires going out about what services you're utilizing and so forth. And that brings me into another kind of point of contention that we're dealing with right now on the board, is what to do with our recycling facility. I know that's kind of a hot button right now with folks. Wondering when it's going to be open, when it's not going to be open, and how long it stays open, and so forth, and is it an efficient way? So right after this short commercial break, we're going to come back and I'm going to dive a little bit more into the recycling facility and some of the ideas that we have. So stay tuned after this short commercial break.
Extreme Pumping and Septic. Septic system services, lift station services, storm drain jetting, grease trap cleaning, and more. Extreme Pumping and Septic is your portable toilet rental headquarters for Baldwin, Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa. Got an extreme emergency? Extreme Pumping and Septic has 24/7 emergency services 7 days a week. Extreme Pumping and Septic is the only septic company in our area with financing options. Call now or book online at extremepumpingandseptic.net.
Hi, I'm Sean McCorkle with Genesis Land and Title. What makes a great title company? Forbes magazine says that a good title company does two things well. They coordinate the transaction efficiently and they provide remarkable customer service. You know, there are few things worse than poor customer service when you are spending your hard-earned money. Our professional and friendly team will go above and beyond to ensure that your closing experience is as pleasant and stress-free as possible.
At Florida Insurance Agency, we have enough available resources to insure just about anything in Florida at the best rates. With dozens of companies to choose from, you don't just get a policy, you get the best policy for you. That means savings and comfort, knowing you are covered. We're only a local phone call away, and you can stop by any of our 3 offices anytime for assistance. Florida Insurance Agency. Our policy is great service.
YNG Global provides intense real-world combat training for individuals and teams. Our firearms training includes concealed carry, pistol, rifle, and advanced weapons and tactics. Our medical training involves evidence-based life-saving techniques, and our close protection services provide safe, controlled, monitored movement for personnel and executives. We're the only tactile pistol and carbine training facility in the Panhandle. Get the best at 850-380-1085.
Welcome back to On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So just prior to the commercial break, we were just going over a little bit about an equity study that ECUA is doing right now, just to kind of make sure that all ratepayers are being treated fairly, and certainly that's our intent. What I mean by that, for those of you all who are just tuning in, was making sure that this blended rate that everybody pays, which includes your garbage, sanitary, sewer, and water, that everybody's paying an equitable share, whereas some folks that may not be utilizing all 3 of those services, maybe 1, 2 of those services, are not paying a little bit more. The other thing goes into meter sizes as well. So right now everybody is paying somewhat of a flat rate for their meter size. Regardless of size. So we've got keep in mind, ECUA has taken over the water and sanitation services. It's been since 1981. So obviously there's a lot of old infrastructure out there, a lot of old meters that we're changing out and so forth, and we're making sure that everybody's being charged an appropriate amount. And if you have a larger meter on a commercial business, obviously you expect to pay a little bit more than, say, a residential. So those are just some of the things we're debbing into. Above and beyond that, we've got the recycling facility, also known as the MRF. Again, it's kind of a running joke. I get a lot of my constituents, a lot of my ratepayers call me and say, Kevin, when is the recycling facility going to be opening up? And it seems to be closed more than it's open. We've had a lot of challenges with that. As we start talking about the different departments, whether it be sanitation, whether it be customer service, when we talk about our operations department and our drivers and our garbage haulers and so forth, and making sure that we've got the right equipment and so forth. Every one of those departments are facing the same thing. Me as a small business owner and you as a homeowner, maybe a small business owner, are facing is rising cost. I mean, fuel's gone up, labor has certainly gone up. I know the unemployment seemingly is very low, but at the same time, I think the real number, I think we'd all agree, the real number is probably much higher. I always tell folks, if you're looking for a job, you can certainly find one. By the way, we are hiring at ECUA, so another shameless plug. Great place to work, great benefits, and so forth. But speaking of those benefits, as I explained to my staff as well as my fellow board members, the days of us being able to just rely on the great benefits package that ECUA offers, and we do offer a great one, in comparison to the private sector, have changed. So because everybody is looking for those qualified employees, that proverbial diamond in the rough, the private sector has stepped up. So kudos to them. The private sector has stepped up. So the folks talking about $10 an hour or $15 an hour or living wages, I always tell folks, I don't think we have anybody under $15 an hour. So that's kind of a non-issue. I don't think even in the private sector, a lot of folks are making too much less than that. So we, as a public utility, are having to step it up. And our biggest competitor used to be the city. But now our biggest competition, trying to vie for those qualified workers, right, is the private sector. So we've had to increase that. It's a lot easier for the private sector to look at their numbers and say, hey, we need to make some adjustments next quarter than it is for a public utility, right? So there's certainly advantages there, but we're working on it, and we went from 75 open positions down to less than half of that. So still several open positions going, but we have been able to grab some of those folks, and hopefully I get less calls from you all about missed garbage pickups, things of that nature. So again, kudos for that. But I do want to again get back into a little bit more of what we're talking about as far as potential rate increases and some of the justifications for that, and right after we get back from this short commercial break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Extreme Fleet Maintenance is a complete hydraulic and diesel servicing company for the Gulf Coast region, specializing in Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, and all diesel. We work on light and heavy-duty vehicles, forklifts, hydraulics, generators, warehouse, and farm equipment. Our emergency services are 24/7. When you need us, we are there. Call us at 850-972-8087.
At Florida Insurance Agency, we have enough available resources to insure just about anything in Florida at the best rates. With dozens of companies to choose from, you don't just get a policy, you get the best policy for you. That means savings and comfort, knowing you are covered. We're only a local phone call away, and you can stop by any of our 3 offices anytime for assistance. Florida Insurance Agency. Our policy is great service.
YNG Global provides intense real-world combat training for individuals and teams. Our firearms training includes concealed carry, pistol, rifle, and advanced weapons and tactics. Our medical training involves evidence-based life-saving techniques, and our close protection services provide safe, controlled, monitored movement for personnel and executives. We're the only tactile pistol and carbine training facility in the Panhandle. Get the best at 850-380-1085.
Hi, I'm Sean McCorkle with Genesis Land and Title. What makes a great title company? Forbes magazine says that a good title company does 2 things well. They coordinate the transaction efficiently, and they provide remarkable customer service. You know, there are few things worse than poor customer service when you are spending your hard-earned money. Our professional and friendly team will go above and beyond to ensure that your closing experience is as pleasant and stress-free as possible.
Hey Escambia, today we're talking about recycling and what you should and should not put in your curbside recycling bin.
Let's start with plastics. Plastics generally have a recycling symbol with a number printed in the center. If this number is a 1 or a 2, recycle it. Otherwise, toss it in the garbage can. Lids and labels can stay on, but make sure there is no liquid inside, as this will cause the system at the recycling center to kick it out and go into the garbage. Keep items loose in the can instead of putting them in a plastic bag.
Speaking of plastic bags, plastic films like grocery bags can cause big problems at the recycling facility. So keep these out of your curbside bin and instead recycle them at store drop-off sites. Or bundle them up and throw them in the garbage bin so they don't fly out in the back of a garbage truck. So what else can be recycled?
Mixed paper and cardboard, recycle it. Pizza boxes are okay as long as there isn't any pizza in it. Leave out shredded paper and throw it in your trash can.
Metal cans like steel, tin, and aluminum, recycle. Rinsing is not necessary, but make sure it's spoon clean and not still full of food. Cans with a plastic liner should go in the trash.
Glass, recycle it. Lids and labels can stay on. Just give it a quick rinse, but make sure there is no liquid left inside.
Now, let's talk about some items you should keep out of your recycle bin. Styrofoams, tanglers like holiday lights and extension cords, yard debris, food, clothes, gas cans, batteries, and much more.
When in doubt, throw it out. If you're unsure whether something is recyclable or not, just throw it in the garbage. For more answers to your recycle questions, visit the ECUA website or download our Recycle Coach app.
Know what to throw, 850.
Welcome to On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So again, prior to the commercial, we're just running over some cost analysis, going over potential rate increases, going over the recycling facility and some of the challenges we're having there. So hopefully we'll have that back open. We've already done a soft opening. Hopefully we'll be back up on the recycling facility very, very soon. Thank you all for continuing to utilize both those cans. Again, speaking of both those cans, your recycling can and your sanitation can, there is there is an option with that, and that's something that was kind of a hot button of mine. Is I'm like, you got folks that are big recycling conscious, and I think we all should be, certainly to a degree. We've only got one planet. I'm not going to harp on that too long, but we should certainly all be doing our part to be good stewards of our environment. That being said, you've got folks that find it too difficult, don't want to put forth the time to recycle, and in which case they're using the recycling can for a second garbage can. And we have the option for just a few dollars more a month. We will swap out that recycling can with a secondary garbage can. So keep that in mind. If you're not going to do the recycling, again, for whatever those reasons are, help out the other folks, help out the recycling facility, and just call us up. We'll go pick up that recycling can, drop you off a secondary can. There's not a large increase in cost for that. Right now we're sitting on about a 45% contamination rate. Now you and I both know when someone tells me 45%, I'm looking closer to 50 or 60%. That's a big problem with the recycling. When I'm looking at the numbers and I start listening to my staff and my department heads tell me why that they need more money for their departments to run these, and I get it. Everything has gone up. Most of our construction and infrastructure and repairs are done by the private sector. So we send out various sanitation, sewer upgrade projects to the private sector. They bid on them, and our bids have doubled. I mean, I had a project I was looking at last year. I remember the number because it was a huge number. It was a little over $1.5 million, and that same project came back 6 months ago or 5 months ago at over $2 million. So, and that's just one. We get multiple of those during the course of a month. So supplies have gone up, fuel's gone up, which has caused PVC to go up, and PEX piping and so forth. So all these pipes that utilize petroleum, they're petroleum-based, it's caused them to go up. Of course, labor's gone up. So that has caused our pricing to go up. And again, we're a public utility, as I constantly explain to people. We're not an FPL. We're not for profit, so we don't have shareholders. You're our shareholder. I'm your shareholder. We're all in this together. So, but I do want to be good stewards of the money, and I want to make sure that we're doing stuff that makes sense. So I asked to have a study done on the recycling facility, and what are the real costs? Because when I look at financials, and that's what I do for a living, is look at your P&Ls and your balance sheets and your debt flow schedules and see if I can find inefficiencies and redundancies. What stood out to me was the subsidies that we're utilizing right now to offset the actual cost of the recycling facility. So I tasked my staff with getting me the real numbers, myself and the other board members, so we can make an intelligent decision, which is beneficial to all of our residents. Again, and then let the residents make those decisions. So I want to talk a little bit more about that right after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Extreme Fleet Maintenance is a complete hydraulic and diesel servicing company for the Gulf Coast region, specializing in Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, and all diesel. We work on light and heavy-duty vehicles, forklifts, hydraulics, generators, warehouse, and farm equipment. Our emergency services are 24/7. When you need us, we are there. Call us at 850-972-8087.
At Florida Insurance Agency, we have enough available resources to insure just about anything in Florida at the best rates. With dozens of companies to choose from, you don't just get a policy, you get the best policy for you. That means savings and comfort, knowing you are covered. We're only a local phone call away, and you can stop by any of our 3 offices anytime for assistance. Florida Insurance Agency. Our policy is great service.
YNG Global provides intense real-world combat training for individuals and teams. Our firearms training includes concealed carry, pistol, rifle, and advanced weapons and tactics. Our medical training involves evidence-based life-saving techniques, and our close protection services provide safe, controlled, monitored movement for personnel and executives. We're the only tactile pistol and carbine training facility in the Panhandle. Get the best at 850-380-1085.
Extreme Pumping and Septic. Septic system services, lift station services, storm drain jetting, grease trap cleaning, and more. Extreme Pumping and Septic is your portable toilet rental headquarters for Baldwin, Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa. Got an extreme emergency? Extreme Pumping and Septic has 24/7 emergency services 7 days a week. Extreme Pumping and Septic is the only septic company in our area with financing options. Call now or book online at extremepumpingandseptic.net.
Welcome back to On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So prior to the commercial, we were again zoning in on the recycling facility. So this report that I requested from my staff is going to provide us the real numbers. A lot of folks understand that we get a lot of our recycling from Baldwin County, Alabama, Mobile County, Alabama, as well as other parts of Okaloosa and Walton County. So again, we're charging them X to receive, that recycling, and we're paying, in a lot of cases, more to actually dump that. Because when I say dump it, again, a lot of this, when you're looking at a 45, 50+% contamination rate, that goes to the dump. So again, this isn't making sense, and in my response was to my staff and my board members, we're going to have to do either a better job at getting information out, or rethinking doing the recycling facility differently, because the real numbers that we're debbing into right now are not positive by no stretch of the imagination. And so where we would put out that we're breaking even, the reality is when you start debbing into the real numbers, you take away the subsidies. And I say subsidies, I mean subsidizing from other departments within ECUA, your sewer, sanitation, garbage, water, and so forth. They're subsidizing the recycling facility. So what we're tasked to do right now, and our director and our staff have already been getting with our city partners and our county partners to make us receiving their recycles a little bit more equitable for ECUA, which will in turn be more equitable to the ratepayer. Because the bottom line is, me personally, if I'm being asked by my staff for additional funds, all justified on their reports, that are going to result in a potential rate increase, I made that commitment when I ran almost 4 years ago, that we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at our house first. Where can we cut back? Where can ECUA tighten our belts and make sure we're good stewards of the money? Making sure that everything is balancing, making sure that every department makes sense and is being run very fiscally, very conservative. So again, need those numbers on the recycling facility to find out what the real number is. And if that number is a negative number, then we're going to have to do some real soul searching. We're going to have to do some soul searching, not just as a board, but we're going to have to do some soul searching as a community to find out just how important recycling is to the residents of Escambia County. I hope it is. But again, I need you all to make that decision after you've got the numbers and you can see it in black and white, and then we can make that decision. But before I feel comfortable, discussing, possible rate increases, I want to look at that department and seeing where we could possibly be more efficient with that, where we could in turn garner some additional funds from our partners. So if that purchase rate by ECUA to these other outlying counties is not a fair rate, then that needs to be changed. If we need to be upping the rate a little bit more, and I think you're going to see that. I think we're talking to our city partners and our county partners, and we're explaining the situation to them. I think they're certainly all on board with making the recycling facility viable. I'd love to see it continue on and on and on and on. But again, we never looked at it as a moneymaker. But it can't be losing the money that our preliminary numbers are showing that it is. And so that's going to take a joint effort, and we can't do it all ourselves. It's going to take the ratepayers out there being more responsible with separating their recyclables so we don't have such a high contamination rate. It's going to be our county partners stepping up, our city partners stepping up, and I think together we can make it a viable option. So we're going to go into some other changes in the engineering department right after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Sean McCorkle with Genesis Land and Title. What makes a great title company? Forbes magazine says that a good title company does two things well. They coordinate the transaction efficiently and they provide remarkable customer service. You know, there are few things worse than poor customer service when you are spending your hard-earned money. Our professional and friendly team will go above and beyond to ensure that your closing experience is as pleasant and stress-free as possible.
Extreme Pumping and Septic. Septic system services, lift station services, storm drain jetting, grease trap cleaning, and more. Extreme Pumping and Septic is your portable toilet rental headquarters for Baldwin, Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa. Got an extreme emergency? Extreme Pumping and Septic has 24/7 emergency services 7 days a week. Extreme Pumping and Septic is the only septic company in our area with financing options. Call now or book online at extremepumpingandseptic.net.
Extreme Fleet Maintenance is a complete hydraulic and diesel servicing company for the Gulf Coast region, specializing in Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, and all diesel. We work on light and heavy-duty vehicles, forklifts, hydraulics, generators, warehouse, and farm equipment. Our emergency services are 24/7. When you need us, we are there. Call us at 850-972-8087.
Welcome back to On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So again, I'm going to segue off the recycling facility. I think I've beat that horse to death for a little while, and move on to some engineering changes. You know, last week had the opportunity to coordinate a meeting with my director and chief of the engineering department, Stacy Hayden, along with the HBA president, as well as several HBA members, to talk about, you know, some changes in our engineering manual. You know, our engineering manual, which pretty much dictates all the building and construction that goes on in Escambia County. So before anything can be constructed, you have to be able to have water and sewer to it, correct? And so they got to come to our department first, submit their plans, and we find out hopefully the best and most efficient way to get water and sewer to those facilities. But again, that manual was last updated in 2014. So now it's being updated again. Well, that manual dictates everything. So one of the changes, one of the options in there was possibly look at changing out some PVC piping for copper piping. So I think we kind of hashed that out. And again, that was in subdivisions or townhomes that are very close together. So there's a lot of in specifically private subdivisions, a lot of concrete houses and structures are real close together. So we're trying to hash out the mix between copper and PEX and ductile liner pipe and PVC. But you know, when you look at the cost of PEX piping versus copper, I think one's 70 cents a foot, one's 12 or 14. It would significantly increase the cost of subdivision development. So somewhere in there, we're going to find a happy median. Stay tuned for some more information on that. But that was a great example of the public and the private sector working together. That's been a big hot button of mine. I wanted to kind of pull back the curtains from ECUA, bring in the public sector, and be a better partner with them. Listen to their input. They've got some great ideas, and then somewhere in the middle, you know, come up with a happy median that's good for the builder and the developer, as well as good as ECUA and the ratepayer. Because I always tell folks, any additional cost that they incur is passed on to the homeowner. And myself and other government officials are really big on affordable housing, or the new phrase now is attainable housing, if you haven't heard that one lately. So it's now attainable. And so making housing more attainable, it starts with us. It starts with the county building officials. It starts with ECUA. So we certainly don't want to be an encumbrance to that. We want to be a partner with that. So we're trying everything we can do to make sure that the integrity of the water and sewer lines is secure, and safe and will last a long time, because at the end of the day, we get those back when the developer's done. But making it, responsible enough and logical enough to where it makes sense financially for them to do that. That's a big job driver for us. Again, first-time home buyers, we want to bring that down. I mean, saying a $250,000 to $300,000 home is affordable to some people. A lot of people it's not. So anything we can do to help mitigate some of those costs, we want to do. So again, stay tuned for some updates on our engineering manual. And again, thank you. God bless. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next month. Have a blessed day.